Hey everyone, my name's Amrita and I'm a registered clinical counselor out here in Surrey, BC. Today, I'm very excited to introduce my guest, Ben. Ben is a founder of a fitness organization called Fit Nation, and he knows all about all things fitness, and I'm so passionate about this subject. I mean, it's been a love-hate relationship for me when it comes to fitness, but I think especially now being in the mental health field, I understand the benefits of daily movement. So Ben, thanks so much for coming here
Thank you.
today.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I don't know if I know all things in my humble opinion, but I've been in it long enough where I've seen many, many effects of health and fitness on our mental, physical, and spirit, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. It's so connected. I think
Hmm.
it's something we often forget that even spirituality is all about movement. There's so much that has to do with stagnant
Hmm.
energy, getting
Hmm.
trapped, and like sometimes we don't understand or recognize how the mind and body and soul is all connected. We
Hmm.
often try to treat each thing independently.
Yeah.
So maybe even right off the bat, I'm really curious to know because we know each other
We
from
go
a
way back.
different chapter of our
Yeah.
lives as well, from high school.
Hmm.
We both went to Sullivan
Sullivan
Heights,
Heights.
right in the core
And
of
she's
Surrey.
mentioning it's grade nine she's talking about. So just to put
Yeah,
it into perspective,
long
long time
time
ago.
ago, long
Yeah.
time
Here
ago.
we're
And now,
sitting here at 37 years old. That's like 20 plus years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, we're all connected
Yeah.
in one way or another as we were chatting. But at that time, as most adolescents aren't, maybe not as into fitness.
No. Well, that was like when, for myself, that was when I was first starting to get into fitness because
Oh, okay.
I was dealing with a lot of stuff. And my mom has like this, my mom, the way she's parented has been really cool. She's raised three kids as a single mom in Surrey, two of them boys.
Yeah.
And we both have a lot of anger and aggression issues, or had, I'd like to say. But so she started seeing these things in me very young. And it's funny, I don't even know if these still exist, but there was a pawn shop that my mom took us to.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, like, does he want a drum set? Does he want a piano? And there it was like so funny. It was like a thing, something out of a movie. It was like this light was shining on this bench press that
Huh.
had like these, I still remember them. They were gold 35-pound plates
Oh my
that were on
goodness.
it. And I couldn't get my eyes
It was
off
a
it. I was like, this
calling.
is for sure. And I
Yeah.
was like, and my mom saw that.
Yeah.
And so she bought me that and then ended up putting it somewhere in our house. And that started my foray into fitness at like,
No
yeah, I
way.
was 12 years old, maybe 13.
Oh, so you
Um,
were always
yeah,
into
yeah, a
fitness.
long, long, long time. Yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah, 12, 13 when I first touched my first set of weights. And then I would strategically go grocery shopping with my mom to get Muscle and Fitness magazine
No
because this is
way.
before social media, right? Like
Yeah.
you didn't have like following your favorite fitness influencer to get all your information. You would still rely on
Print
these magazines,
media.
print media.
Yeah.
And it was such a big part of my childhood of just like laying down the magazine, reading the workout that this XYZ did, and going down and trying it, right? And
That's neat.
it was the first time that, like, now that I can reflect back on it, that I felt like I had some semblance of control.
Hmm.
And I can see now that I was related more control for my emotions, but
Yeah.
it felt like it was just like me time. There was no one like, telling me, oh, I didn't do that right or I didn't do that wrong. Because I wasn't in a gym. I was just had my weights, I had a
Yeah.
magazine, and I
It was
did
a
it.
very
And it was
personal
like,
journey.
and there was like a sense of a first time I had like an actual sense of accomplishment.
Neat.
I wasn't good at school. Like I wasn't like, a star student, and I didn't read much, and I didn't play organized sports. So I didn't
Yeah.
have any like
The niche
the
wasn't
wind.
there,
Yeah.
which is like the stereotypes for males,
Yeah.
especially. It's like, okay, he's a hockey guy, he's
Yeah.
a basketball guy, but for
No.
you, you found it through fitness.
Yeah,
That's what it
exactly.
was at a
Yeah,
really young age.
pretty much. Yeah, I've kind of like formed my identity through it for a long, long time. Yeah.
Neat. And it's
Mm.
really cool that it was your mom that helped
Yeah.
foster that and
Hmm.
even recognize what you mentioned as anger because, typically speaking, that's not the norm for a parent to be that attuned to be able
Hmm.
to catch something early on,
For
especially
sure.
in our community.
That's the stereotype of Indian moms, the coddlers, right? Like, so they're gonna just take care. No, mera putt nahi, no, mera putt badiya, mera.
Enable it.
They're enablers, right?
Yeah.
And my mom took more of the hard nosed stance because she,
She's like,
chose to be a single mom and she
huh.
chose to take take that step, and so she understood the responsibilities that came with it.
Yeah.
And the way she parented my sister would be very tender and very soft, and she
Nurturing.
was very nurturing with us as well, but she was still like, no, I am fulfilling two roles for you here, right?
Yeah.
And you have male figures in your life that are role models, but I'm your parent. And she had a very firm
It was a
grasp
good
of that.
anchor.
And for the most part stayed out of our way. She had her ways of like wanting to be like, you can't do this, can't do that, but for the most part just kind of let the experiment happen and then kind of guide us and love us through certain situations.
Yeah.
She was really, I give up a lot of my credit to her for just kind of putting me in a direction and then getting out of the way, which was
That's
huge.
super
Yeah.
cool and unique for what we usually see in the Punjabi diaspora, which,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, is either going to be the very coddling, overbearing parent, or is going to be the completely disengaged, mom's
Mm-hmm.
working two jobs,
Mm-hmm.
very absentee
Mm-hmm.
type of parent, or
Mm-hmm.
father as well,
Mm-hmm.
can be either coddling and enabling with materialistic things, is
Mm-hmm.
what we usually see, or completely disengaged and out of the picture and
Yeah.
thinks, oh, parent rearing it the mummy da kam aa,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Very
exactly.
hands-off
Yeah,
approach.
yeah.
Okay, so in regard to, let's say, what we usually see. So what
Mm-hmm.
we usually see in Punjabi community, a sedentary lifestyle,
Yeah.
pretty heavy diet in terms of like the ke, the
Yeah.
dod,
Yeah.
the heavy wheat and all
Mm-hmm.
of that. And what are your thoughts on that? Like, it's a little bit intertwined with the culture. Celebrations, focal point, as like in any
Mm-hmm.
culture, is food,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even like
Mm-hmm.
butter chicken, a staple kind
Mm-hmm.
of food in Punjabi culture and community, it's pretty like heavy on the fats.
Yeah, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I've had the privilege for the last 12 years to be dealing with the Indian community in my business and seeing
Nice.
what is like the core issues that we're seeing. And my kind of anecdotal evidence of what I've seen is that
Yeah.
we've taken something that is our traditional Punjabi diet,
Yeah.
and it's worked for hundreds of years. And
Yeah.
it's worked because primarily back in India, it's farm to table. So we are
Right.
literally
Yeah. My
from
husband always says
so
this.
you know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
was like
It was
is
more natural,
more natural
pure.
and pure,
Yeah.
and you were outside. You were
Yeah. We
farming.
were farmers. Yeah.
So it works. So like the
Yeah.
diet
You're
worked.
burning it off.
If you're burning it off and
Yeah.
it's fueling you, because it's a high, heavy carb, heavy fat diet, and that's a great energy source. Because I look at food as energy. I don't really try and demonize any kinds of food. Food is energy. That food is supposed to be fuel,
Yep.
right? And it was a fuel source for our ancestors that it worked great for until they jumped on those planes and they came to North America, and now they're dealing with
Everybody's
processed
enclosed.
version
Yeah.
of those foods.
Hmm.
Not necessarily the pure K that they were getting from the farm. Now they're getting
Totally.
it spring processed. They're having to make it through clarified butter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're right, they're getting put into these houses. And
Yeah.
now from where they would have to walk 2 kilometers to go do anything, they're literally either ordering it to their house or they're jumping in their cars and they're going driving down 500 meters to come. Like I
Yeah.
did today. I live maybe less than 800 meters away from you. I jumped in my car and came here. Right. So these
Yeah.
little things, they
It's what's
accumulate.
normalized. Yeah.
So it's a bigger thing than just our diet, right?
Yeah.
Like the diet, you can get away with it. Like for example, for myself, I've been running marathons for the last 5 years now, and I've been able to get away with murder with my diet. I consume upwards of five,
Because
six
the
thousand calories
energy
because I'm burning
output
it
is
off.
high.
It's high, right? So if I look at that comparison to what I'm saying for our Indian ancestors and our parents and their generations, they have a lifestyle where they originally were in India.
Yes.
So they built those habits of eating these foods.
Yeah.
And then they come here,
It's not
their
getting burnt
lifestyle
off.
changed, not necessarily their food, right?
Yeah.
So you have to counteract that, right? So that's why like having the 10,000 steps is so important. So I wouldn't say like the
Okay.
diet even here, you can get away with it, but getting your movement in, making sure that's important, right? Like I would like to see, I don't know these numbers, but the levels of depression that most people felt in India compared to here. Did that change because of a sedentary lifestyle? And now life became easier.
Yeah.
Whereas in the morning, everyone as a community is
You're
getting
getting
together to
the
make the food.
sunlight.
You're
You're
getting the sunlight, but you're the
socializing.
community aspect.
No, you're
At
right.
the bend,
Yeah.
all the ladies are cooking together. Everyone's raising the
It's
kids together. All the
camaraderie.
men are going together,
That's
right?
friend life, village life. Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes, growing up, even being born here, we kind of not intentionally look down upon that, but how beautiful that lifestyle is. It's
Yeah.
almost more conducive to a successful future of our next generations,
It's
to
more
be
natural.
raised as a family, as a
Community.
community,
Yeah.
them not being able to pick up, oh, that's mom. No, like all these women are raising me, right? And all
Yeah.
these men are fathering me, right?
And that's how we're wired
Hmm.
primitively, is to be in numbers, in groups,
Yeah,
not to be isolated. But the West is individualistic
absolutely.
rather than
And I
collectivistic.
think
Yeah.
that's where the void comes from. Sometimes, like even I feel it, like this void of
Yeah,
I don't know
something's
what it is.
missing.
Something's missing, right?
It's
And
connection. Yeah.
I connected it too much towards like being raised without a father and
Huh.
having that void, but it's actually deeper than that, right? That
Right.
it's that cute community village way of
Belonging.
life,
Belonging. Yeah.
and that belonging that we are, that is ingrained in us genetically, and that void, what we're feeling is this abstract way of life, right?
Right. So your alternative style of thinking, would you credit it to this health conscious lifestyle that gives you clarity of thought and you're able to go
Mm,
deeper with your introspection? Or
mm,
have you used, if you're comfortable talking,
mhm.
alternative means to
Yeah,
come to this higher level
I
of
definitely have.
consciousness?
I mean, I look at, I can't give one thing that's absolute credit, but I think fitness is huge on that, where it's given me that clarity, and I've tried and
Makes
failed at
room.
so many different
Hmm.
ways. So it's, I have this saying that I always live by, that hold strong beliefs, but keep them lightly,
Okay.
right? Being able to be open to having your mind changed,
Yeah.
and for me, alternative means for me was some big like transformative things that have happened. It was like some of my psychedelic journeys
Okay.
of like going deep and
That was going to
purging
be
of
my
these.
next question,
Yeah.
because anytime I speak to someone who's as like passionate and certain in what they're
Mm-hmm.
sharing and have
Mm-hmm.
that confident charisma about them, usually it does come back to the psychedelic
Mm-hmm.
journey. Whatever I've learned about psychedelics is that it just takes the walls down,
Mm-hmm.
right? It helps take down all the walls that usually are there for self-protection. And there's many methods to get to that
Mm-hmm.
unfiltered, completely genuine side of yourself.
Absolutely.
And psychedelics are maybe just a bridge to
Mm-hmm.
get to that. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
There's a famous quote by I'm going to forget the gentleman's name, but he was like a thought leader in the psychedelic realm, and he tells a story about Buddha, and Buddha is traveling around, and he goes to this village, and this man had spent his years mastering walking on water. Okay,
Tika, yeah.
yeah, and he figured it out, and he was so proud. He's like, Buddha is coming to my town,
Huh.
and I'm gonna tell him about this. And the Buddha sits down, and the Buddha's like, he comes to the Buddha all proud,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I spent 20 years mastering walking on water. Look, I can do it."
Yeah.
And he's like, "That's great. The ferry cost 10 cents to get there."
Okay.
So
uh,
it, there are many different means of getting to this level of
Enlightenment.
dissolving and enlightenment,
No
dissolving of the
ego.
ego, all of that.
Yeah.
But for me, what I found was finding a path towards getting there the quickest for me was psychedelics.
Tika, yeah.
And I have been on 30-kilometer runs, middle of a marathon, and have very similar experiences of that
Euphoria.
euphoric
Hmm.
and of being beaten down so physically that I take so much pride in my physical abilities, and now being at this point of being broken down, being exposed to my real truest self.
The raw
And
side.
then
Yeah.
you kind of realize, oh, I have a lot of work to do. And so that's what psychedelics are like for
Humbling.
me. All
Right.
of my psychedelic journeys have not been just the journey itself, that 14 hours that I'm in this experience. It's been the 12 months afterwards where I'm driving home, and I've had these visions and these
So it opens a
hallucinations.
door.
But
Yeah.
I'd be driving, and I'll just go back to like reflecting on what was that, and I'd make these connections of like certain
Mm.
things.
Yeah.
It's helped me a lot with that. So I think that's helped me open my mind a lot, but also being humbled by being a business owner in Surrey, and
Yeah.
just surviving COVID and life experience. At
Yeah.
37, you have this clarity that
Hmm.
at 22 is delusion, and that delusion will get you places, but that delusion will always also be your self-imposed prison, because you need to be learning new tricks. You need to be
Yeah.
learning more about yourself. And I've found the value through experience of going inward
Yeah.
rather than just being so outward all the time.
Oh yeah.
And life is expressed out here, but it's learned in here, is what I
Yeah.
believe. And I feel like whatever your way of doing that, it's sitting in silence, deep meditation, or
Therapy.
journaling, or
Hmm.
therapy, or
Yeah.
psychedelic adventures, or rigorous exercise, whatever your means to do that is so important. And what a shame it is to live your life not having experienced that inwards, because we have so many vices for us to numb ourselves out with through alcoholics
Substance,
and
yeah,
or alcohol, sorry, and substance and
yeah.
just distractions of quick dopamine rushes of scrolling. We have so many means of being
That's the era
distracted.
we're in for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for our generation and after, there are a lot of distractions and maladaptive coping that we can't deny. It is hard to push through and persevere and go the adaptive route,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
you've done that. You're an example of that and a
Mm-hmm.
pillar in the community. And probably everyone that is around you and interacts with you
Mm-hmm.
gets that benefit of the ripple effect. But even if we take it back to our parents' generation and before that,
Yeah.
I think their vices are their own inner demons and just their own insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
They're very focused on the outward stuff, reputation, slander, gossip, and that keeps them really inhibited.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't go do the healthy thing. They don't go to the rec center. They
Yeah.
don't go to the Y. They don't
Mm-hmm.
do these things. I just had a chat with my dad the other day, and he was talking about like empty nest depression, which is very commonplace
Mm-hmm.
for his generation, right? It
Mm-hmm.
comes up in client meetings as well. And I said, well, Dad, we're in BC. There's so many things. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could go learn swimming. He
Mm-hmm.
knows how to swim, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Go to the rec center. You could be doing this. You could be doing that. And it just wasn't landing. And it felt so foreign for him to be like, well, why do I need to socialize with the community? My kids should come sit here
Yeah.
with me. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, but then what would we be doing? And he's like, well, my hobby is watching sports. And it's like, well, I don't know if that's a hobby though.
Mm.
And so it's so normalized to not be engaged, not be playing recreational sports later in life for South Asian community,
Mm-hmm.
and to be like very bonded and
Mm-hmm.
closed
Mm-hmm.
and just like stay in your own home, like be homebodies. Why do you suppose that is?
So I have a lot of empathy for that generation because they showed up here with $4 in their pocket and their number one thing was survival.
Survive. Hmm.
And then they had kids. And then that responsibility just kept pouring on, pouring on, pouring on.
Hmm.
And they didn't have the luxury of foresight to
Nice.
be like, our kids are going to become 20, 21, go to uni, get married, and move
Appa
out.
kalle reh jana, yeah.
They didn't,
Mm.
they couldn't think of that because they had to put food on the table. They had to make, so that's
Yeah.
why they had to make money to establish their kids, pay for their schooling, all of this stuff without no knowledge in a foreign country, right?
Yeah.
And they eventually, time is undefeated. It got them to this point of the war is over,
Huh.
the battle's done,
Yeah.
Hornicky,
Yeah.
because they didn't have the ability to think that. Some of them can pivot and kind of do their own thing,
For sure.
but a lot of them, they have that and I feel it, I get it, it
Yeah.
makes sense. It on paper, I would be more surprised if they didn't. It'd
Yeah.
probably be a sign of some sort of nice narcissistic behavior,
Yeah.
that or thought processes that they don't care
that
that.
their birdies
So
flew away.
the fact that their heart has
Huh.
broken is a part of it, but that's what life is. Life is going
Yeah.
to break your heart, and then you're going to have to learn from
They
it.
haven't
right?
embraced that yet.
And you have to lead with compassion with that and understand that,
Yeah.
because and it's okay if they don't fix it, because sometimes being a child of a parent like that, you want for them more than they want for themselves, and you have
And
to
you
get out
feel
of the way.
guilty and you feel
100%.
responsible.
100%.
Like as he was speaking, I was starting to feel all those waves of
Yeah.
guilt that's very commonplace for
Yeah.
brown children, right?
Mhm.
And then I started thinking about it and I'm like, okay, but it's about modeled behavior. And I'm like, okay, now I model that for my kids, right?
Mhm.
Something I noticed a lot in this, you're a parent, right?
Mhm.
So in the new generation of parenting is all this extracurricular push.
Mhm.
What's the ratio? I want to ask people for every sport or activity your kid is in, how many are you in?
Yeah.
And why do we stop? Why are we dragging ourselves exhausted, unhealthy, sluggish from activity to activity like it's our job, and we're not enrolled in anything ourselves? We're not taking care of our bodies, and we're modeling to our children the fun stops when you're a grown-up, so enjoy it while it lasts.
I think that's the toxic part, that the fun stops. And it's
Yeah.
important to be a fun
We're people too.
And 100%, but I think for a lot of parents, it's a time thing, right? Like kids are they're a beast, man. They take up a lot of time, and like
It's
having the ability,
all-consuming.
it's actually a luxury to be able to do recreational stuff, but
Yeah.
it's also it's important. But that's the thing that's been a common
The
theme,
ratio's not there.
and it's not that they don't understand, it's just not important to them. And if we make
It's not
something,
high
say
value.
you break your leg, it's going to be important for you to get better, because you're going to have to get better.
Right.
So it's the same thing with your spirit,
retroactive.
right? Like you
Yeah.
have to make it important, and there is no incentive for you not to.
Yeah.
There is no incentive for you to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, it's intangible. It's not like a gold watch that you wear it, or like my wedding ring that I see it, that like, okay, it exists. The spirit is so like, it's almost unbelievable that we have one, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't feel it, you can't, but it's not until you have these moments of deep lows or these deep
When
highs
the
that you feel
depression
it.
kicks in, then you know.
And then you ignore it, right? Because it's not like it's a scab that's just going to visibly get
Nobody's
better.
taught us how to do this
No.
stuff. It's not, it's not in the books. It's not in society, but
No.
it's so important. This one quote from Jim Carrey comes to mind, and a weird person to quote, but
I love Jim Carrey.
He's
like a great philosopher of our time. He doesn't get
I
enough
know he
credit in
gets
his
a bad
philosophies.
rap. But he chats about, he's like, okay, depression is real, but if you're not moving your body, eating right, connecting with people, you're not giving yourself a fighting chance. And I truly do chat about this stuff with clients. I'll be like, okay, let's do the emotional trauma healing. I use somatic therapy. It's all about body movement and micro movements and postures and breath work and stuff like that. And I'll be like, okay, but we also need to get the ball rolling with exercise, daily exercise. You're going to get that dopamine hit. You're going to get the endorphin release. All the stuff we go through, it actually does get stored in our body, and then it eventually immobilizes up. And that's depression. You're being pressed down with all the crap you've been through. So what do you have to do? You have to move it. You got to release it. And that is daily exercise. Even today, I didn't feel right till I did my little 20-minute YouTube video.
And that's all it takes sometimes. People forget the power of 10 minutes of doing something.
Something's better than
or
nothing.
Like parking your car further away, not just finding the closest parking spot.
Or at school pickup.
Exactly.
Get out, walk, go use the loop.
Straight up. And like, just dealing with that traffic. Like, it's just smarter, right? But that's the little things. Like, people look at fitness as going to the gym, but it's actually just, if you just zoom out, and you can sneak fitness into so many different parts of your life.
Totally. And I think that brings me to a question I had in mind, is that, so this is really funny, but the other day my husband was really excited to go show me his gym.
Sick.
And I walked in there and I was like, get me out of here. Flight response, flight mode kicked in, because I get overstimulated by like bright fluorescent lights. I can't have too many things going on around me. I was like, I want to go back to my YouTube videos and my little Peloton bike, right? And he was like so perplexed, because for him, he loves that stimulation. It's like, he loves it. It's the highlight of his day. And then I realized, holy smokes, so many people throw in the towel to be, I'm not a fitness person, because they're not a gym person. So what do you have to say about that in regard to finding your niche?
I think like fitness is a lot like religion, and a religion, I feel, or your relationship with God is a private matter.
Nice.
So your relationship with fitness is a private matter, and you choose to share that with people if you do so, but make it your own. Gone are the days that you're taking care of your fitness if you're going to the gym and having a 2-hour session and you're doing your cardio and lifting your weight. No, one of the most fit people that I know is my running coach. And he has kettlebells at home that he does a little bit of a workout in, but he stays outdoors. He's running all the time. And that's his version of fitness.
Everybody,
he's the most fit person I know.
Find your version of
it. So for you, that might be your 20-minute YouTube video. That might be, a Pilates class. I'll never demonize any form of fitness.
Just
like,
move
people
your
hate
body.
All these different modalities when it comes to fitness, and they, the runners don't get along with the CrossFitters, and the powerlifters don't get along with the bodybuilders. Like, come on, man! Like, we're all just going to get out of here, right? Like, so I think that it all works. It's just you have to kind of find whatever works for you and dabble in and experiment in all these things.
I feel like that's so, you're hitting the nail on the head.
All too often we just kind of try something, we give up on it altogether. Whereas we should be.
It's very all or nothing, our approach to fitness.
And we have, like, a lot of times I think we forget.
The lights on. We're good. Yeah.
I think like we forget how long life can be. The common saying is life is short, but it's actually, Lord willing, it's very long. And in that time, you can be so many different people. You can be so many different things for different things, and we forget that. And so then we stop. We just define ourselves by one bad experience, or we define ourselves by one good experience, and then we just go our whole lives thinking that's what weight training is, or that's what, like running is, or like,
but we can't have a fixed mindset.
No.
My kids are always learning in school growth mindset versus fixed mindset, and it really does apply to everything. And so what you're saying is really on point. And I feel like we're kind of socialized to think once we become Buddhe, that's it. Like it's game over. We're going to be immobilized. We need someone to take care of us. Like, oh my gosh, who's going to take care of us? But we don't see this in every single culture. We see like elderly people still hiking and swimming and being very engaged, even though it's cold out. I still take my kids to go play pickleball, and there's not, like, sorry to say, there's no other Punjabi there. And it makes me really sad, because that is what's going to ease your anxiety and heal your depression and ease any family conflict. It really isn't as complicated as we make it out to be. Movement is medicine.
Definitely. I mean, it's not easy, but it is simple when it comes to fitness, right?
For sure.
Like it doesn't have to be super complicated. But also, I do want to point out that working out is not the cure.
All right.
It is definitely a part of the puzzle piece, or a puzzle piece to the whole puzzle.
For sure.
But it's not the cure. There's a lot of ways for it to become a coping mechanism, like it did for me in the past, before I dealt with my stuff, where you just train so hard that you numb yourself out, but you don't do the inner work of like really
then it'll become
yourself.
Toxic.
That's what I mean. So it can turn into that, right? Where I actually used to see it at Fitnation all the time, where they would come in and they would just train super hard. It becomes obsessive.
Self-punishment.
Exactly. And so then we started pivoting our service a little bit more towards mental health, and like starting to have more deeper conversations with people.
It's got to go hand in hand. Otherwise,
and the work has to be done. Otherwise, it'll come out in other it'll come out in other ways, right? There's so many times that running became toxic for me. When I don't want to deal with shit, I'm just gonna go for a run, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna seem happy, but it's just that Pandora's box is gonna keep filling up, and then I'm gonna have a blowout. Right. And then I'm just going to start that cycle again, and then again and again. And it's not until you go deeper
It's a tool, not the antidote.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing, right?
No, I appreciate that you paused and acknowledged that, because it is so exciting, and it's like, go work out. It's going to fix all your problems.
And you think, I'm good, I'm cured now.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you're not. Right?
It's just, it opens the door, but you still have to walk through it and do all the other work as well. So in that same vein, maybe just a few more questions, but how do you differentiate between, like, all the terms of calorie deficit is how you lose weight, but then there's also the term restrictive eating, or what's another one, like, where it's like it's not healthy anymore. How do you go about, like, where's the line for toxicity with exercise?
I'm very like oriented around what are we trying to accomplish. Right?
Okay.
So I first, at the baseline, I believe fitness is a daily, or not a daily, it's a part of your lifestyle. It's like daily may not be the right word for it, but it's who you are. Fitness is something that you do. What you choose, once you start to make that the baseline, okay, fitness is something that I do. From there, you can say, okay, you know what? I'd like to lose 10 pounds. Okay, what's the best method for that? Now, when you say stuff like calorie deficit, yes, the science is undisputed. If you want to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. Now, whether that's through keto, whether that's through intermittent fasting, whether that's through, cutting out carbs completely, whatever your thing is, it's always going to come down to a calorie deficit. In that same vein, if you're trying to gain weight, you're going to have to be in a calorie surplus. However you get there is like, at the baseline, that is a truth that we can't escape. Now, when we start pursuing that, it becomes toxic, where I have to measure every bit of my food and that. No, I believe a lot
if
with.
If you're obsessive with it, if there's no ease, if there's no flexibility.
It can feed the beast. It can feed that OCD complex that you have. Yes. And it can create, what's worse, it can create a negative experience that, again, you define for the rest of your life. It bastardizes the whole thing. So I believe that I've
definitely hit waves of that.
Yeah, I'm saying, along with myself, I have as well. And I've now learned that finding an intuitive way of not just like,
love that.
So I had, my wife and I went to Cactus and I crushed 1,200 calories. That doesn't mean the last 5 days of me doing great has washed away. Not at all. Absolutely not. I enjoy that moment I had with my wife.
Cactus.
That's it. Exactly. I personally, my wife loves Cactus. I don't like Cactus, too repetitive for me. But that's just as an example of like, allow yourself to live You gotta live, right?
Yeah.
You
You
don't
can't
want
be
to just
too
lose
intense with it.
you don't want to
Not
just lose the weight in
self-deprecating.
10 weeks for your sister's wedding, right? Like, let's
You
look
want to
at
keep
things
it sustainable,
broader. Let's make it
sustainable,
sustainable and let's still
and
enjoy
and
life.
get to the deeper stuff beneath the surface,
Yeah.
not the superficiality. Not
No.
do I look snatched? Do I look
No, yeah.
right? How do I look in comparison to my peers? But
Mm-hmm.
in sessions when we're talking about weight loss or body image or anything like that, because of course, like body shaming is unfortunately very prevalent in
Yeah.
South Asian community as well. I always say three things: is I don't think about pounds, whether you want to go up or down. Just think about your posture, your energy levels, and strength.
Yeah.
And if you can focus on those things, usually you won't teeter into toxic
No.
territory.
Yeah.
Do you feel like I'm?
Yeah, they're definitely, it's case by case for me because I've
Huh.
seen people that are
All-
morbidly obese and their mental health has gone to shit and
Huh.
they have the health issues.
Emotional eating, right?
They need to lose the weight. And so
Yeah.
for them, it's like, okay, no, this is the big part of the puzzle we need to solve immediately.
Then you got to be more aggressive in your approach.
Not necessarily aggressive, but like more educative and more
Got it.
understanding of the consequences of not taking care of the big fish we're trying to fry.
Which is like biology and
100%.
science,
You
right?
can't, and
You can't dance around
as much
that.
as body shaming is unfortunate, some of this stuff we need to be realistic with stuff. Like some people do need
I
to lose
agree.
weight,
There's a lot
and
of
it's gonna save their
cushioning
life,
with
right?
the language right now, and I think sometimes we need to like understand intent. So let's say if an auntie at a wedding is like poking your belly, the intent is malicious.
No, yeah, 100%.
Right? But if like you're having a chat with your family members and they're like, hey, let's like do a cleanse or like be more fitness oriented, health conscious, the intent is pure and genuine and kind.
And it depends on the individual. I mean, fat shaming's worked on me. My grandma is ruthless when it comes to that, and where she's just like, "Haan, to paar bada liya, huh? Hun dekh la bas. Keda gym karda tu, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna show you." And then I lose the weight.
You've developed your base and foundation to be able
to process that, absolutely. And then amongst the guys, like sometimes, you know, I'm guilty of this too. Of just saying, you know, calling that friend out and be like, "Yo, man, you're letting yourself go," and I know where that's headed, dude. And you're letting yourself go.
Fair.
Like, you know where it's headed as well.
It's intent again, though. Like,
exactly.
Bibi's not trying to hurt your heart, and you're not trying to hurt. Yeah. So I think
that auntie at the reception is definitely trying to get her licks in for sure, 100%.
Yeah. Context matters for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe just like one kind of closing note is that your relationship with food and fitness is usually connected to your emotional well-being, the things you've been through. Emotional eating is real, and on the flip side, restrictive eating is real. I know myself, when I was young, I had no appetite because I was riddled with anxiety from head to toe, and then that would get me chastised and in trouble with family members. And what did that do? That completely flatlined my appetite. So it was like a cycle. So if you notice this in your children, your siblings, yourself, approaching it with compassion, curiosity, and most of all, educating yourself, like connecting with someone like Ben or coming to a mental health practitioner and understanding it in a whole grand big picture sense that this is all connected to our experiences,
I mean,
our life.
You have to have a relationship with everything you do.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to have a healthy relationship, that whether that's working out, whether that's eating, whether that's with your partner, whether that's with your kids, you have to have a healthy relationship with things.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there at a family dinner and you're at your favorite restaurant and you're not ordering what you love because you think people might judge you, or like, no, I'm trying to lose weight now, so I'm not, like, you have an unhealthy relationship with food.
Got it.
Right. There is things that you have to understand. Number one, food is fuel. Right. And then food is also a coping mechanism, because if food is
a comfort,
drug, it's also a drug, because it gives you that.
It's the first gateway drug.
100%, 100%.
Self-soothing.
And so you understand it as that, and you start to associate food with making you feel better. Food is supposed to fuel you. So a lot of the kids, like where kids are, they're in a household that is abusive, violent, and they're always sneaking in cookies, and they're still always
they're crunching to release the stress from their jaw. Yeah. They're swallowing to soothe the
sugar's
sadness,
making them feel good,
and it's going in their head, which is where all the anxiety and fear is happening. So even with somatic therapy, we'll often talk about, okay, you need a release in your jaw. How can you give it to yourself alternatively? Go crunch ice. Massage out your jaw, massage out your throat, do like rubs with oil on your stomach instead of trying to satiate it with the food.
And also in that same vein, we need to be a little bit tougher on ourselves. Sit with your hunger.
Discipline.
You're not gonna die
Delayed
if
gratification.
delayed gratification,
A
but
lost
also
art.
100%.
Yeah.
And also just learning to just not just be a slave to the fridge door or the cabinet door or the pantry door.
The quick
Just
fix.
and just sit with your hunger. See if you're gonna
Urge
die.
surfing.
You know, it takes like 5-6 days without food for you to die. Right. So if you go that 1 hour before you just impulsively eat because you think you're hungry, but you're actually just bored or you're actually just not emotionally well and you don't want to do that internal work, but that coping mechanism of eating this food has always been your thing.
Self-soothing.
You know, that's like,
it's very normalized.
We need to be tougher on ourselves a little bit as well. We can't go about life just always, patting the corners and just patting ourselves on the back and just like being, oh, cool. No, it's like, I do not need to eat right now. I just ate about an hour ago, so I'm okay. I know I don't need it for fuel. And what am I running from? And I feel like if people just ask themselves that question, what am I running from? It'll lead them to therapy. It'll lead them to, okay, I need to get out there and get my steps, or I need to find an alternative method to get me to deal with this stuff and not just cope through this stuff. You can spend 80 years of coping through it and live a meaningless life, or you can live a life where you've evolved and beautifully shed these layers of whatever you have going on and be this wise old person that has impacted so many lives.
Who can move their body still
Absolutely.
and play with their grandkids and not be like the bibis and papas that have unfortunately lined the hospitals, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
There's no denying that, but we want to set ourselves up for success for later on in life as well. Just having that foresight. Ben, this was more than I could have imagined. Like I really, really appreciate you chatting so candidly and with so much vigor and passion. Thank you. Do you have any
Thank you for having
closing notes?
I think you hold a really good, cool space.
Thanks.
And it's just kind of nice connecting with an old friend from like 20 plus years ago and to see where we're both at. I mean, I think it's funny. The older you get, the more you get full circle moments. And I've been getting a lot of them lately. And this feels like a great full circle moment. Thank you, darling. Appreciate it. Yeah,
this
thank
was
you.
great.
That was awesome.
So if anyone wants more information about Ben and his fitness studio, you can just check out his Instagram page, which is
at Fitnationbc, and then our company page is at Fitnationbc.
Perfect. As usual, thank you guys for watching. See you next time.
Peace.